Hey guys, it's IFBB Pro John Jewett. Today I want to talk to you all about post-workout nutrition. So you caught me, I'm doing my post-workout meal. Your post-workout nutrition is really going to be determined by when are you training. Also looking at your training bout itself. What kind of training are you doing? Are you an endurance athlete? Are you a bodybuilder? Are you doing two-a-days? All that's going to determine how much you need for nutrient timing in that little, if you want to call it, post-workout window. I'm going to use myself for example. So like a bodybuilder in off season, my calories are slightly above maintenance, and I train in the evening. So I trained today, it was about 5:30. I had a pre-workout meal about 90 minutes before training, and then right after my workout I had a protein shake and some quick source of carbohydrates, and then I came home, I did cardio, and then I had my post-workout meal. So from my pre-workout meal to my post-workout, you're looking at maybe roughly 3 hours, and this is my post-workout meal. It's just rice, beef, and a little bit of fruit. So what's the purpose? You have to think, what is the purpose of our post-workout window? So initially you want to replenish glycogen, what you expend during training. Also, we're looking at decreasing protein catabolism and also increasing protein synthesis. Now, digging further and looking further into research, you find that just the insulin response just from protein alone causes a high enough rise to attenuate the protein catabolic effect post-training. So maybe carbohydrates aren't 100% necessary post-training. If you consume an adequate amount of carbohydrates 24 hours after you exercise, you can completely replenish glycogen. So if you're training legs once a week, you have 7 days essentially to replenish glycogen. It's completely doable. So having this immediate carbohydrate source post-workout to take advantage of the higher glycogen resynthesis rates probably isn't that completely necessary. Now for someone who's doing like 2-a-day training, maybe they train hams in the morning, glutes in the evening, that nutrient timing and having a quick carbohydrate source could be beneficial during that time. Now look at studies that had pre-training meals. So a pre-training meal, like a mixed meal, can keep insulin levels elevated for up to like 5 hours. And even that's even considering like if you had weight training in that time period. Now if you had a really hard training bout, that might not be the case. But for some people, a pre-training meal could bleed into the post-workout window, keeping insulin elevated, keeping protein synthesis elevated. So it looks like the post-workout window isn't quite as narrow as what a lot of people thought it to be originally. Generally, I would say if your goal is for building muscle mass, to consume a pre-workout meal 90 minutes prior to training, that can be a mixed meal. So it can have carbohydrate source, fat source, protein source. I would say, keep digestibility in mind, and that's going to be really important of what food sources that you're choosing. White rice or chicken or fish, that's something that's really light and digest easy. If you're going something heavier like beef and potatoes, that might keep you bloated and you might notice you're belching and gassy. Again, it's dependent on you, so you have to see what works. So following your workout, I would still consume like a whey protein shake, the whey isolate, and then some faster digesting carbohydrate source is fine. Just calorie wise, it makes it easier for me, so I usually try to pick something that's either really easy to eat or just a drink. Then if you're doing post-workout cardio, I would say have your post-workout shake, then go do your cardio. Some people might say that you're gonna limit fat burning if you have your carbs and protein before doing cardio. But typically I think that's going to fuel you more for your cardio to push harder. It's also shown like if you're burning more carbohydrates during cardio, you can burn more fat for the rest of the day. Same if you were to do your cardio fasted, you could potentially burn more fat during that time period, but then you're probably going to be relying more on your carbohydrate sources throughout the day. So I would do your post-workout nutrition then. And if you do your cardio, then following cardio, have your next meal. And just a mixed meal is the next thing I do, and it's probably my second highest carbohydrate meal as well. I do add some fruit in as well. Fruit's kind of synergistic with glucose and replenishing liver glycogen, plus it's just refreshing. I like it. So if you are doing cardio post-workout, then I would, after you have your post-workout shake, I would do your next meal like 90 minutes afterwards. So I think that covers and loads nutrients pre-post to where you would take advantage of all those anabolic opportunities to where you would not limiting yourself at all. Now, for people working out first thing in the morning, If you have to do everything cardio, everything first thing in the morning, definitely have some type of pre-workout meal before training. I think making sure that your glycogen stores are just topped off, and also keeping hydration up, especially with your meal too, is probably going to help performance-wise. So definitely have some pre-workout meal. Still do your weight training first. I would still say have your post-workout shake, then do your cardio, and then follow that up with your meal 2 for the day. So that just gives you some general guidelines to go off of for your post-workout nutrition. But again, it's keeping in mind just what type of training you're doing, and if you're doing short training sessions, nutrient timing might not be important as long as you have all other aspects accounted for. So, planning your program, you need to look at the hierarchy of nutrition. So have your calories set first, and then look at your macronutrients. Do you have enough carbohydrates, protein, fats? Then after that, you could argue between nutrient timing and food sources. When are you eating those macronutrients? And then from there, what are those sources of those foods? And then, of course, making sure all your micronutrients are present and you have a good food variety in those choices that you make. So I think that sums up a lot of things. But just consider that. Consider what you're doing and how that applies to your own protocol. So that's a little bit on post-workout nutrition. Thanks, guys.